All of us here have love for Josh. All of us here were affected and many forever changed a year ago today. All of us here had and probably continue to ask the universe some questions such as, God, why would you take us so early? God, how do I go on with a piece of my heart missing? God, since I can't go back and change, how can I live for Josh going forward? I struggled with all of these questions myself, but I found that Josh himself gave me some answers, and I want to share them here with all of you today that cared about him. The day after the tragedy, the team came to East and all came together so we could grieve and just spend some time together. I watched people try to console the kids. I watched people try to relate to the kids. I watched people try to tell them that it was all going to get better. Unfortunately, almost nothing anyone could say could lift them out of the darkness they were in, except any story told about Josh, whether it was him being a goofball, or him playing with the coach's kids, or just him being the good friend he always was. I watched the darkness momentarily fade away and be replaced with brief smiles. And that's because darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only the light can do that. And I was witnessing Josh continue to shed light on all of his friends even when he was no longer with us. Because Josh lived his life as a light, helping others out of darkness. I pointed out to the team and I encouraged all of them to take the light that they received from Josh and to be the light themselves in the dark days surely to come, as I encourage all of you to do with all your personal lights. But there are some interesting things about the light that I ended up learning the night of the candle vigil, as I watched the football team circle around the Mileto family with candles in a circle of light. It was also a representation of their attempt to surround them with love and support. But anyone who was there that night knows how windy it was. And the wind caused all the candles to constantly go out. Every 5 seconds, we had to frantically pass any candle back and forth trying to reignite the lights that had just went out and keep the circle going. And after 5 seconds, the candle that just relit all the other ones would go out and we'd have to use those lights that just got reignited to relight those candles. And we'd have to use that light to get the other ones back, to get the light back, to keep the circle going. It was so windy, and this happened so much that we all almost considered just forgetting the candles altogether and just focusing more on supporting the family and just being there instead of focusing on trying to get the light going. But no one did this. No one gave up, and we kept the circle of light going. And after the ceremony, I brought all the kids together and I asked them to raise their hand if their candle went out at one point. And I watched every single one of their hands go up in the air. And I asked, how is this possible that we kept the circle of light going if every single one of your lights went out? How did we still have a ring of light and fire at the end? This relates to life and was yet another lesson learning from Josh that he had to teach us. I had told the kids to be the light, but I realized that no matter how big your flame is or how bright your light is, life gets windy. It knocks you off your path. Your light goes out. And it is possible and very likely that each and every one of our own personal flames go out at some point in the future. But if we stay together and don't give up, we know we can get our flame and our light back, and then use that light to bring others out of darkness. And as a result, you have people there with their own light to reignite your flame once yours goes back out. And I learned it does not pay to be stingy with your light. Rather, it is important you give it out as much as possible, because it costs nothing to give your light out. You do not lose any heat or flame when bringing another one. In fact, your flame actually gets brighter in the moment that you bring another one out of darkness. So be the light, but also make sure you pull as many others out of the darkness as possible. And maybe most importantly, when your light goes out, don't give up. And don't be afraid to ask for some light, because it is the only way we can keep the circle of light and support going. A year has passed since Josh taught me these lessons, but his impact is still very strong on me to this day, as I try to do my best to be the light. And it wasn't until yesterday, when I was reflecting on his life, that I learned yet another lesson from Josh. I remember it was Josh's 9th grade year, his first year at the high school, and my first year getting brought up and coaching middle school, so we were both kind of freshmen on the high school level, new. And it was the very first practice of the summer, so normally the people that stick out are the older 10th graders, they're a little more developed. They know the system, they know the offense. Those are the people who, the rookie coach might be looking at. And I remember, Josh wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the strongest kid. But I remember, he always had a big smile on his face, and he was competitive. So he held his own, definitely for a 9th grader. But that's not what really stuck out to me. What really stuck out to me was after the practice was over, and all the other wide receivers went to get their water or to take their shoes off. Not Josh. Josh came up to me and said, "Coach, what should I work on to get better?" And I was kind of confused, honestly. I was worried that I had said something to make him think he wasn't doing good as everybody else, or that I didn't like his performance. I was confused. Maybe I was inexperienced. So I tried to reassure him that he was doing well, and that I liked what I saw from him. But I had yet to learn that Josh didn't really care about getting an extra pat on the back, or attaboy. Josh didn't even care about improving on only his strengths. Josh wanted blatant honesty about his own weaknesses. And as scary or harsh as honest feedback is, Josh did not hide from it, but sought it out, because his true focus was self-improvement. He wanted to be the best wide receiver, he wanted to be the best Josh Mileto that he could be. And would not let his ego or insecurity shield his eyes from seeing a possible flaw when he could face it head on and improve it to the best he can. And after that one conversation, I walked right into the coach's office and announced to all the coaches that little 9th grader that wasn't the tallest, wasn't the fastest or the strongest, was surely going to beat out the better athletes, because I knew he had the better attitude. So when I asked myself how I, or we, can live for Josh, I believe the answer is to live more like Josh, and not be afraid to look at your own weaknesses. Always look to improve. How can I be a better son, a better friend, a better human being? Be competitive, but stay a good sport. Try to smile as much as possible, and maybe as big as Josh did. And be the light. Forever 5.